We, the jury, find the defendant, count 1, malice murder, not guilty. Count 2, felony murder, not guilty. Count 3, aggravated assault, not guilty. Count 4, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, not guilty. Count 5, aggravated assault, not guilty. Count 6, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, not guilty. This is the 18th day of February, 2019.
When someone had asked me earlier about the case and what type of case it was, I had indicated to them in my feeling it was a textbook case for self-defense. Stand your ground, no duty to retreat. Obviously, unfortunately, there's some unique circumstances with it not being a stranger-to-stranger interaction. The fact that my client and the victim in this case were brothers. But no matter the relationship, the personal relationship, I think the facts were that at the time my client fired the weapon, he was in fear of his life because his brother, as by evidence in the case, was under the influence of alcohol, narcotic, Molly, and was pointing a firearm at him and had shot at his home at least twice, and had shot at Mr. Thomas again, where the bullet went through his clothing. And then my client is, evidence in the case, had returned fire, and one of the bullets being the fatal wound that killed his brother. But unfortunate as it is, I still believe, and obviously the jury spoke and agreed with us in our case, that it was self-defense. It's obviously joy that the case is over and is concluded and he was found not guilty, but yet and still the realization that he did have to take the life, unfortunately, of his brother. And so obviously there's mixed emotions in that. So hopefully, now that he'll be released, hopefully within the hour, hopefully, however the family does it, the family can heal from this and hopefully move forward in the future. When he was originally indicted, he was originally charged with 9 counts, but before trial, I guess strategically, the state dismissed counts 7, 8, and 9, so the jury didn't have to decide those, only the 1 through 6. And so those are the ones he was found not guilty on. So now that they're all 9 counts, the not guilty plus the 3 that were dismissed, there's no other holds. My client has no prior felonies, so hopefully he'll be released within the hour. And I'm gonna tell you this from what one of the spectators told me, that in their many years of witnessing court testimony, that he may have been one of the best witnesses that they saw testify. And a lot of it having to do with he was very forthcoming, and even the tough questions that Mr. Lambertus asked him, he answered succinctly, clearly, and truthfully. And I think that meant, and I'm assuming and speculating, obviously that meant a lot to the jury, because the crux of the whole case was really him and whether or not the jury believed, not only by the evidence, but which would include his testimony, that he was really in fear of receiving a serious bodily injury or potentially death when he fired that fatal shot. So in this type of case, a defendant's testimony was paramount, and I believe his testimony was paramount. And I've had a lot of other clients in the past and similar cases and other cases that have testified, but not as well as Mr. Thomas did. And I believe that the reason he did testify so clearly and so well, that it was just coming from the heart. And I think it showed that, yet it was self-defense. He did have obviously some feelings about having to do it to his brother. But I think at the end of the day, it was just, a choice, as he testified to. At the time he pulled the trigger, and the time that his brother was pointing the firearm and had fired those shots at him, he thought about his 6 kids. And then thinking about his 6 kids, who's going to raise them, who's going to be there for them, who's going to walk them down the aisle when his daughters get married, who's going to be there at the kindergarten graduation. And those thoughts had went through his head so quickly in that split second that he felt that his life may end, and unfortunately he had to fire his weapon.